born against the stream. It don't matter what race or creed or color. You love this land, then you're my brother. That anyways, you know I'm gonna stand. If you say you can't breathe, I'll show you we can. Ain't never gonna stop believing. We were born for freedom. We're born for freedom.
Hey, do you guys remember that one time when Justin Trudeau let like 100 ISIS fighters go free in Canada after they went across seas and did really terrible things to people? But not only did he say that their views weren't unacceptable, he said that they could be a strong voice moving forward in Canada. And do you guys remember that one time when Justin Trudeau paid that Muslim terrorist guy that blew up an American soldier with a grenade like $20 million? And do you guys remember that one time, like now, when Justin Trudeau said he won't meet with the Freedom Convoy because their views were unacceptable and they're just really bad? But he just was friends with the ISIS guys. And do you remember? I remember. Do you guys remember that other time?
Oh my God. 2 hours ago, Justin Trudeau was whisked away to a secret location with his family. And the other day, he mentioned that he was exposed to COVID-19 and had to, isolate for 5 days. Well, it looks like it wasn't quite true. He was exposed to Coward-19. He caught a fatal dose. Now he's got to run and hide. What's the matter, Justin? Scared of the convoy coming to your house, surrounding it, and actually making you do your fucking job? Can't hide forever, bud.
All right. However bad you think it is, it's worse. Y'all listen. When I tell you that the New World Order and the communist takeover in Western countries is real, I know some of y'all don't believe me. I know some of y'all are sitting back in your red state or your red city, and you keep, you're polishing your guns, and you're saying to yourself, that's not going to come to my doorstep. That's never going to happen here. Well, listen, y'all, it's already happened, and it's happening over it has been happening over the past couple years, and we have been primed. Western civilization has been primed, okay, for the last 30, 40, 50 years for what's happening now. So when I say this is Armageddon, I'm not talking out of my ass. I'm not making shit up. I'm not sitting back here reading fucking comic books and watching movies and just freaking out, okay? I don't follow QAnon. I don't deal with QAnon, okay? I don't need QAnon to show me the writing on the wall, because I went to public school, but I did take world history. And one thing about being a Virgo, and especially being a chef, and especially having parents that both worked in education, I read a lot when I was a kid. I watched a lot of foreign films, a lot of documentaries. History is my passion, okay? And when I see history repeating itself and I'm sitting here screaming at people trying to warn them of what's about to happen, I don't need no shit. I'm not taking no shit, all right? Now, you have all heard about the trucker thing that's going on with Canada. Supposedly 2 years ago, we were supposed to have a stop the wheels thing that happened, that QAnon was saying everything was, it was going to happen, and it didn't, because QAnon is bullshit. But it is happening in Canada. And I know you're seeing the videos, you're seeing the news articles, you're hearing things about Trudeau that are very upsetting and disturbing, as if the guy isn't already a communist, China paid, China bought piece of shit. But I had to bring somebody on, and apparently this guy was a fan of mine, and we connected on TikTok. I love his content. He's got so much to bring to the table. He's interesting, he's funny, he's kind of a badass. Actually, he really is a badass. I think he's one of the real ones. I definitely think he's one of the real ones. And with the amount of information that we are about to bring you in this episode, I'm pretty sure that we can say that he is legit. Okay, so I have invited him on the show to be my Canadian correspondent. As we know, I had another Canadian correspondent who I still talk to on a regular basis, but he's very busy. But he will be back. I don't know if you guys remember Skip J, the corrections officer from Canada, who was spilling the tea about a lot of stuff. So I just want to keep that same energy. We need to address some things, and I think I have the perfect person, Mr. Call Me Gallagher. Here is his TikTok. So before I show you his face, I just want to make sure you guys run over to TikTok and make sure you follow him. He's got a lot to say, and I just want to give him the floor. So welcome to the show.
Howdy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy you're here.
From Canada, eh? We don't say that, by the way. I'd like people to know that. I did get busted for saying, we say you betcha, and in the States you say you bet.
You bet, you bet.
I had a Texan call me on it. He goes, "You're from Canada, aren't you?" And I said, "How do you know?" And he goes, "Well, here in Texas we say you bet, and for some reason you Canadians put a ch on the end of it."
Well, it doesn't matter to me. I've never had a problem with Canadians. You guys are some very, very nice people. As you know, one of my all-time favorite conservative crush. Well, everyone knows that how I feel about Gavin McInnes. Everyone knows how Gavin McInnes feels about
Gavin
you.
is the man. Gavin is the man.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. We don't start no rumors. He's married. He's married.
That's right. I know.
But he
lost out.
me.
We lost.
He loves me though. Anyway, okay, so I just wanted to give you the floor. I just wanted to allow you to express the things that have been bothering you, that are bothering you, the things you're seeing, the information that you've collected from your friends. And I just want you to educate all of us, because a couple of videos and a couple of articles is not enough. I want information from people who are on the ground, and you are that man. So
not actually physically in Ottawa, but I do have a lot of very close friends that are boots on the ground right now.
You're closer than we are. That's the point. Okay, so
boots on the ground and freezing their butt off.
And tell us whatever information you want us to know, and give us a deeper education on the situation.
Okay. Well, where to start is another thing. So let's see. We have had enough. We have been vilified, demonized, and pretty much rang through the mud just for having a different opinion. Even our own prime minister said that we are a small fringe radical group with unacceptable ideals, and that's just not cool. In fact, I do believe he is being taken to court for that very statement, because it goes against the very language law that he implemented. And I hope something comes of that, because I mean, pot call kettle black in that situation. But yeah, pretty much you would almost think that our leader here in Canada hates Canadians. Like I never thought I'd see something like that in my lifetime. I have never been political my whole life. I've never gave a crap either way about right or left. They never affected my life until 2015,
when he basically tricked the world and got himself elected. I was one of them. One of the first times I voted for Justin Trudeau. Don't kill me. It's not my fault. I'm only one vote. But no, when he wanted to legalize weed, you know, that got a lot of us going, hey, what? And then we obviously, because we were too excited, and I'd never really been in politics before, didn't study the underlying policies that he had. And what it was is legalizing and decriminalizing are two different things. We should have decriminalized it, because legalizing it, they can still get you. They can still put you in jail. They can still do a lot of things to you. Here in Canada, if I handed a joint to my nephew, who's 14 years old, I can go to jail for 15 years. It basically tripled the punishments for what they consider cannabis crimes and stuff. And then it just snowballed from there. And it got worse and worse until we got Mr. Trump in office in the States. And he pretty much kept that kid in check. If Justin got out of hand with something, well, we got a new tariff. We got a tariff on aluminum, tariff on steel, whatever. He seemed to be quite quiet. And as soon as Trump was out of office, his facade came off, and it's like he's got a personal vendetta against Canadians. I've never seen anything like it. Took his mask off and has been on a vengeful vendetta ever since. Anybody who is against the vaccine mandates or what have you, doesn't matter. You can have doctors come out around the world. The European Union sometimes is some of they're, I'd say 2 or 3 months ahead of us because of the way things happened. You know, COVID broke out in Europe before here, obviously. And so they're a couple of months ahead of us. And so their science is kind of a couple of months ahead of us. And it's like that information comes out, they share it with the world, and the Trudeau government just ignores it and just doubles down on all our mandates, all our rules. Like, I keep getting asked all the time, what rights have I and others lost? They're saying privileges. Well, it's not a privilege to freely travel around my country. It's a right. Because I'm not vaccinated, I can't go on a bus, I can't go on a train, I can't go on a boat. He even said so on international TV. I can't go into restaurants, I can't go into gyms, can't do much. And then they still want to, they're even pushing it now. I believe I heard last week, the next stage is they want ages 6 months to 5 years old to get the vaccine, which just kills me, because there is more evidence that it is dangerous for young children. I mean, their immune systems are just developing. There's lots of science behind everything. I could go into it a lot more, but I mean, there's a lot of shows that cover that already. I'm going to get into more things that are happening around here in Canada. Like, here in British Columbia, we're almost as bad as Ontario. So Ontario and BC, we seem to mirror the mandates and the lockdowns, and they turn them on and then they turn them off and give us a little carrot and then put them back on again. There's so much division. There's family members I've had to cut off because they've judged me on an opinion. Friends, I lost a friend last week of 30 years because he started calling me a racist and everything else. And you would think someone who's known me that long would know that's the furthest thing from the truth. Never had a racist incident, in my life caused by me whatsoever. In fact, I've done the opposite. It really bothers me. I don't even like Jagmeet Singh. I hate the guy. I think he's a piece of crap. I don't know about your language on this, but
this is Red Pill Rage. This is the Rage Party. This is where we get it all off
Well,
our
fuck yeah.
You can say whatever you want. I do.
So,
I'm actually
are
okay.
you
We're
there?
here. So, before we go any further, I have some. What I did an episode a couple of weeks back called the Patriot Code. So I'm really trying not to
Okay.
get channel banned. So, if you wanna talk about these people, this is what we say. Okay.
I
If
didn't
you want to
quite see
talk
that.
about these, huh? Did you see it?
No, I couldn't see it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the Patriot Code. I get it. I know what you're putting down.
Yeah, yeah. So this is what
Fiddler
we
on
say
the
if
roof.
we want to talk about these. If I wasn't listening. Doobie 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 doobie
Well,
doobie
because of his username, I'm friends with all 6 accounts of the fat fiddler on the roof.
Oh, I love him. Yes, I got to meet him at the meetup, and I'm gonna see him. He's coming back to Texas.
Oh,
He's
so
gonna bring
you were at that Texas meetup that he was
Yeah,
at, and
I
then
was there. Yeah, I was there.
yeah, okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
hate
I
everyone.
was there.
All my besties in one place, and I'm stuck here in
I
cold
know.
tundra.
Yeah, it was band fam royalty.
Nice.
Okay, so if you want to talk about this, which I don't talk about on my channel because we don't need it, we call it
No.
Quanon.
Yeah,
If you want to, if you want to,
I'm not part of that. I probably was
okay,
for the first
good. Then I don't
month.
need to. Then I don't need to educate you. Good. If you want to talk about these guys, we call them the Yellow Jackets or the fraternity. If you want to talk about, this day, we call it the
Okay.
Boondock. We call it the Boondock Saints. Okay.
Which
We
is
call it.
perfect. I be
We call
Irish,
it
you know. It's
the
one of
day.
my favorite movies.
The day of Saint Boondocks. Okay, and I'll
The day of
explain the
Saint
meaning
Boondocks.
behind that later. It's actually really funny.
In
And
nomine
then, of course,
Patri,
if you want to
Spiritus
talk
Sancti.
about this, you can call it the
Okay.
blah blah blah, the Jim Jones, or the Juice. Okay.
Okay. Well, I have quite a large group where we have up here in Canada. We call it the cookies.
Okay.
And so don't eat the cookies. That's what we do. We don't
I
don't
love
eat
that.
the
So you
cookies.
can say that. You can totally say that. So
Oh yeah.
as you,
And then
I didn't mean to
and then what
interrupt.
we call the Rona is the Bud Light.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So now you've been educated on Patriot Code, and trust me, whatever you say, my audience will understand what you're saying. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
So sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Hey, no worries. Where did I pick up? So British Columbia. I know that a lot of people are pulling their kids out of school, but for a lot of people, it's not an option. There's child care is insane. Like, I mean, where I live, it's probably equal to California for housing. Everything's pretty expensive where I live. What else have we got here? So much going through my head. Just so much.
Why don't we talk about the truckers?
Or how about you throw me
the
questions and I'll directly answer, and I can go
burning
on
topic right now.
Mm-hmm. So the burning topic, the truckers. I haven't got her name right here. I could look it up, but they're trying to vilify the couple that started the convoy. They started the GoFundMe, I believe last week, some point. I think it was Monday or what have you. They're trying to demonize them in the media. I do know his name is Pat King. Pat King was the man who proved in the provincial Crown Court in Alberta, Canada. He asked for a Freedom of Information Act from the health minister. And the health minister, he took to court. She obviously didn't show up, as those types don't. They feel like they're above the law, so they don't need to go to the courts with the plebs. So he took her to court. She didn't show up, but it didn't matter. She had her 6 lawyers there, I think. And what he had asked for was a sequestered and I can't remember the word for it, isolated, the isolated, what do you call it now? I forgot your code speak. So I'll call it the Bud Light, an isolated chain of Bud Light. And what the point of all this was to back up by science all the mandates and the lockdowns and the masking and everything else, because they need a reason for doing it. And the reason was supposedly because of science. And they had, I think, 3 months to come up with all the scientific evidence for the reason of all the mandates and lockdowns. And they had in the writing in court proven that they had no isolation of the Bud Light, and therefore would mean, you would think, it doesn't, like, I'm not going to speculate, doesn't prove that it doesn't exist. It's just they could not supply the evidence to prove that they were justified in their mandates or anything. And that shot around the world. I do believe maybe some of your viewers would have heard of it. You can find it on Google. If you Google Pat King, I'm pretty sure somewhere on Rumble or what have you, it'll have where he proved that they couldn't bring to the table their evidence as for the reason for the mandates or anything like that. And it shot around the world. We thought back then that would be the silver bullet that ended the pandemic around the world. And I do believe they did the same thing in Italy and a couple other countries. And as usual, everything gets undercut and shoved under the rug somehow. I don't know how these people are getting away with it globally. I have no idea. It's so above our head that we probably couldn't fathom. It's probably worse than we could ever imagine. But I do know Quebec has now won the contest of worst province in Canada. They have the QR codes. You can't go into a place without using a code to get in, sort of like they do in communist China. Social credit score is basically what it's all about, if you ask me. They're really harsh there. And it's also because I don't know the semantics, but they have their own provincial laws separate unto Canada. Like our unemployment insurance, everything that's like federal, stuff like that, it is separate from Quebec. It says if you are collecting, you are from these provinces, but you have to fill out a whole different form if you're from Quebec. They got a lot of different provincial laws because they're separatist. They've always wanted to separate from Canada, and they just haven't really got the steam to do such. So I know I say a lot. Can't stand that, actually. So I say it again. The future hasn't looked so bright in Canada. It's privy unto Australia. We're mirroring them in a lot of ways. Maybe not quite so aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because
Yep.
Canada is still armed and Australia is not. They got rid of all their guns in 1996, I believe, because of all the rampant gangs and everything else. Yeah, I do believe you do still have guns in Australia, but my God, from what my friend told me, you pretty much have to be the Pope to get a gun, unless you're some sort of, like, if you're representing, let's say, a game farm, they kind of need them for a 2-ton crocodile, you know what I mean?
Or yeah.
Stuff like that. So unless you're a regular citizen, because there was a lot of poaching there too, apparently. They would just go out and poach kangaroos and everything from buggies and stuff like that. But I mean, that's what happens to a a country under the Queen's rule. What do they call it? I can't remember now. But you know, Canada, South Africa, Australia, Commonwealth. So if you're part of the Commonwealth, that's what apparently happens to your country if you have your guns taken from you. Because Canada, per capita, like, I'm not trying to outdo the States. You're my brothers, I love you, but per capita, for our size of population, Canada has more guns than the States. Not physically, per capita, per citizen. It is a lot harder to get guns here, but I mean, it's doable. It's mostly handguns that are the hardest to get here. Long guns are, until last year, they were fairly easy to get. And Justin Trudeau even came out with a banned list. Now, he must have been handed this banning list because there was 10 pellet guns on there. And I believe one of them.
Incompetent.
Very incompetent. Like it's like he doesn't go over anything. Like Biden, he seems to just, instead of using the people around him for advice and then coming to his own conclusion, he lets them lead by proxy, which is what I think both of them are doing. The people around them, where it used to be, I would take advice from Steve, I would take advice from Dave, and I would take my own thoughts and come up with my own speech or my own things I want implemented. But no, Dave said this, so I'm going to copy it word for word. Dave said to do this. So yeah, so his list even had a couple of toy guns on there, which we made fun of in memes because Canadians know how to meme. We've meme kings up here, I tell you what.
You've heard of the mean girls? These are the mean.
These are the meme girls. That's funny. And yeah, so me personally, I have a job I could go to right now. Just my situation, my vehicle, I can't take it to Alberta. Not that there's a rule against that. It's just insurance and decals, all that kind of stuff. So I have a chance for a job, a short-term job in Alberta. I live in BC, and I can't get there because I'm not vaccinated. My only way of getting there is to take a bus. And I went and did some studying, and because of the coercion from our government, the company that I used all through this pandemic, they require vaccination now. And it didn't matter 6 months ago, which is silly because apparently the pandemic was very strong back then, stronger than it is now, that's for sure. And so I have to opt out of that job opportunity because I can't take a bus to get there. And not only that, it didn't help, but I do believe that they had a part in making business not very viable for Greyhound in Western Canada. In all of Western Canada, there is no Greyhound anymore, which is silly because there's thousands and thousands of people that were dependent on it. We're the only place in North America. So there's Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, all of that area, no Greyhound.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like imagine how many elderly people used it to get to the next town over for a CT scan or some sort of like doctor's visits.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Indigenous people in all of Western Canada, all the way across. And that was their means. Not all of them, I'm saying, but I mean, a lot of people depended on these buses to travel, to go somewhere. And it was cheap. It was awesome. I could go you guys can go to Google and figure out the distance, but you could go from Calgary all the way to Vancouver, which is on the coast, for $80. Mm-hmm. And it would cost me more in gas to drive there on my own.
Mm-hmm.
like $150 in gas. And your guys down in the States, the way you measure your bloody standard, I tell you, it's insane. I'm always having to do math in my head so you guys know what I'm talking about for temperature. What do you mean it's plus 50? Plus 50 is 122.3 degrees here, which it got to where I live here in Canada. I live in a special place called the Okanagan, and it is the hottest place in all of Canada. We have competed with Death Valley a couple of times, to be honest. Well, 121.3 degrees last summer. It peeled my dashboard.
I lived in Vegas for 2 years, and the highest temperature that I was able to tolerate was 117 degrees. So I know what you're talking about.
Well, and we're not a coastal.
It's harsh.
We're not coastal either, so it's a dry heat. When you go outside, it's terrible. You drive, stick your arm out the window, and it feels like, when you're in a sauna with a friend and that jerk runs up to you and goes and blows on your arm and it's hotter. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Okanagan, where I live, is quite a supplier of the U.S. and Canada of their fruit supply. We have this ice wine was invented here. We have a lot of wineries outside of Napa Valley and
Sonoma,
New York, and Sonoma and Ontario. The Okanagan is one of the key places for fruits and vegetables, but mostly fruit. Like when you hear BC apples or that bag of BC apples, that's right from where I live. And outside of Georgia, the Okanagan, where I live, is the largest supplier of peaches next to Georgia. Georgia beats us only because they're bigger. I've had both. They taste similar, but I'll pick ours anytime.
As you should, because you're a patriot.
Because I'm biased.
No, you're.
And I am a patriot.
Yeah,
I am definitely a patriot.
You represent your shit. You represent your shit.
Rip. Yes, ma'am. Fuck
okay,
yeah.
So this is all amazing information. We're at 32 minutes of recording right now. Was there, keeping in mind the receipts and the screenshots and the videos that you're going to send me, was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Like, do you have any
yes
items?
I want to talk about the underhandedness going on in Ottawa right now.
Okay.
So a lot of if anything, you'll go online and you'll see nothing but vitriol for this convoy, which is crazy. To me, I have never felt more patriotic and proud to see all our citizens for this truck convoy. And I'm telling you, it's, slay. Slay. I've never seen this kind of brotherhood since forever. Like, sure, we get it here and there in short little bursts. I was even part of the convoy in 2018 that started up in Grand Prairie, Alberta, that went all the way to Ottawa. That was only 500 trucks. There's 50,000 trucks in this convoy, estimated. And there's detractors. There's detractors saying, oh, well, the Ontario Provincial Police counted the trucks and there's only 200. From which angle? The trucks have come from all over Canada. They didn't all start in BC and all head to Ottawa, all in one long line. They came from the Yukon, which is, even with Alaska, it even goes higher than Alaska. Alaska doesn't go up quite as high as Canada does. It actually overlaps Alaska. There's people from above Alaska all the way to Newfoundland, from the Thunder Bay to Vancouver Island even had a bunch of trucks. They have to take a ferry to get to the mainland. These trucks were from everywhere. So this count that they say that they're proving was on one highway and from one direction for maybe a few hours, and then, oh, we only counted 200. Well, you're only there for a couple hours and you counted 200. That's a pretty good number right there. But yeah, there's about 50,000 to 60,000 trucks. And in Ottawa yesterday, it was reported that there was 1.6 million people on top of that conglomerated into Ottawa for this trucking convoy. I'm super proud. Canada has woken up the world. It's a move that we could across the planet, and they are doing it. This morning I heard of Chile, Australia, Denmark, Norway, Brazil, Germany, and France are all starting their own convoys with the inspiration of our brothers and sisters going across Canada, motherfucker. But yeah, I get goosebumps just thinking about
blame Canada.
Fuck yeah,
Yes.
blame Canada.
Yes.
Hey.
Okay.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Those are bad.
Yeah.
Trudeau is bad. Okay. Chicken shit. It's so funny. So funny how he ran and hid. But before he ran and hid, we already knew he ran and hid because he said he got exposed to COVID and had to isolate for 5 days. Now I got to follow Ottawa rules. It says if you're exposed to it, you have to for 5 days. Well, I'm going to let everybody in on something they probably don't know, because in the States, you are quite censored from us. Last year, when he went to that World Economic Forum, or whatever they call that bullshit meeting, he came back, and our rules for every citizen coming back at the time into Canada was to quarantine for 2 weeks. No exceptions who you are. He went to a COVID hotel, and less than 10 hours later was filmed sneaking out the back and going home. He's a piece of shit.
Is he, like, I feel like him and Gavin Newsom, my the governor of my former home state,
Gavin
California.
Newsom. I think
like
they were
they're
made in
like-
the same test tube.
Yeah,
really
like
were.
they're kind of like clones of one another, or
Well,
like
here's the
something is
thing.
wrong with those two guys. Like they're
Yeah.
related for sure.
Well, you
Like,
guys
something-
have that political channel. Was it CPAC?
Mhm.
I believe. Well, you have CPAC, and we have our own version. I can't remember the name of it because it's
Is it called the
boring.
Canada's People's Party?
No, it's got an abbreviation like CPAC does.
It's CCP, CCP, something like that.
CCP, yeah, fucking A, let's go with that. China. So yeah, no, so you watch that, and I haven't really watched it because I'd rather watch paint dry, to be honest, because Canadian politics is about as fun as throwing flour in the air and hoping to catch it all in your hand. So I'm watching it, and I watched it religiously. Oh, I better not do that. That's terrible.
Yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow,
Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. So I was watching it, and I noticed a pattern. Every time on one side of the house, they would ask a direct yes or no question. Old Trudy would get up and go off on a tangent, talking about nothing to do with what his question was. And in 5 years that I've caught this stuff, I have never watched that. I can't even call him a man. Let's just call him an effeminate girl in a suit. I've never watched her answer a direct question. Not once. And he won't look them in the eye. He won't nothing. He just turns to the speaker and goes, "Speaker, blah 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 blah." We have a Pelosi as well, except he's a little prettier and older, but he is very biased. Yeah, we don't have a plastic surgery accident like you guys have. The underhanded tactics by the Liberal government in Canada. So they tried to make the convoy out to be this tiny little fringe group that doesn't speak for the rest of Canada, that have unacceptable ideas, which is, who are you to say this? That's what free speech is. So they tried to put off the fact that we were larger than they were trying to make it out to be. We were 100 times larger than what they were trying to say. So when that was, you can't hide that. When something's 450 kilometers long, which is about 256 miles for your American viewers, they couldn't hide that fact. So what they started doing is now a smear campaign, you know, the liberal way. That's what they do in the States and up here. So we're all racists, white supremacists.
Of course.
On the news last night, they even went with Russia. How we have roots in, it was started by the Russians. No, it was started by a Métis woman, which is half native. And like I said earlier, Pat King. And Pat King is the one that took our health minister to court, and she lost, not being able to prove COVID-19 in court for the reasons for the lockdown. So these underhanded tactics, I've been on Telegram, other groups, a couple people that have never lied to me, said with good information that through different channels, the Liberal government has paid $40 million to groups, probably nothing specific, obviously. It's all semantics at this point. But it would prove a lot because of what's going on. There are people there trying to make the truckers look violent. And the Liberal paid off state media is right there somehow every time to film. And then they'll talk a couple of minutes on the nightly news about the convoy, and then it's 15 minutes of dragging them through the mud. But my friends were there and witnessed with their own phones, and I believe live and in person on a phone is a lot more trustworthy than the lame stream media. The media were following them around. They were following them around, and they wouldn't interview my friends. They wouldn't interview the Indigenous woman talking about water rights. And they were speaking of water rights on a live, and how this convoy doesn't just have a GoFundMe for themselves. They also have a GoFundMe that they started for the Indigenous people of Canada for water rights. And within a day and a half, they already have $500,000. And that's $500,000 more than Justin Trudeau ever gave to the Indigenous people of Canada for what he's putting them through court for. So they are carrying I cannot see flags and the Dixie flag, which I think is kind of a dumb one because Canada doesn't have roots in the southern United States for the Civil War. So there'd be no point in any mental midget carrying that around a Canadian capital. So you know that they're not part of this. Every bit of film, which I am going to send, has nothing but people smiling from ear to ear. From British Columbia all the way to Ontario, where they went, there were at every intersection on either side of the highway, millions and millions of people out in the freezing cold cheering on this convoy. So let's go, truckers. Let's change the world. We woke the world. We sure did. There's at least 8 countries right now starting their own convoy. And as everybody is probably well informed in your audience, the convoy in the US, they ain't waiting for us to finish and come down there. It's starting in Los Angeles and going all the way to DC right now. I believe they started this morning, and they're starting their own convoy. I hope, even though I am a patriot, there's a lot more people in the States, but I hope that this convoy makes ours look like an inchworm. I hope there's 10 million trucks.
I hope so too.
I'm on Getter.
Okay.
So if you have Getter, I'm on there. I'm signed up for Trump's freedom or whatever. I can't remember what it's called, but he's going to email me apparently when it's open.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's coming up on February 24th, I believe. Somewhere in there. I could be wrong, but I know it's near the end of February. But you can find me on Getter for sure. And yeah, hit me up. I'm also on same call sign on TikTok. Just call me Gallagher. That was my original
At Call Me Gallagher.
Yeah, just call me Gallagher. Same thing as this one, just without the 3.0. But it's kind of shadow banned, so I prefer everyone just go to this one.
To finish this video and to have you back, like we could do this every month. We could do this every quarter.
Sure.
I like to keep people informed. So
yeah,
thank you.
Well, I mean, as it's happening, there's a lot going on. So if you want to do next weekend, maybe I can do that too.
Okay. Yeah, let's definitely follow up about this. Thank you for your time, Mr. Gallagher.
Yes, ma'am. Love you, Jenny.
Jenny.
Take care of yourself.